Welcome back to Pop Flashback, everybody. I'm your host, Rick Smalls.
And I'm Tina Boucher.
And today, we're going back in time to 1985.
Hey, exciting.
To revisit one of the most infamous marketing blunders ever.
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Oh yeah, this is the launch of New Coke.
This is a classic story. It really captures how powerful brand loyalty is.
Oh yeah.
You know, and the emotional connection people have with things they love.
For sure. In this case, it was Coca-Cola, an American icon facing a challenge.
Big time challenge.
Yeah, the cola wars were really heating up, and Coke was losing.
Yeah, they were losing bad.
To their arch rival, Pepsi. Their market share just totally plummeted. Think about it, from 60% after World War II.
Wow.
Down to less than 24% by the mid-'80s.
That's a big drop.
Huge hit, and Pepsi was even outselling them in supermarkets.
Crazy.
What were they going to do?
Well, Coke decided to fight back in a way that nobody expected.
Right.
They were going to change the formula of their beloved drink.
Wow, really?
Yeah, they were getting absolutely destroyed in blind taste tests. And Pepsi's sweeter flavor seemed to be winning over everybody.
Really?
So they launched this top secret project called Project Kansas.
Project Kansas sounds so secretive.
I know, right?
Like they're developing some new weapon or something?
Exactly. It was top secret to develop a new, sweeter Coke.
Did it work?
Well, in the blind taste test, the new formula, it consistently beat original Coke and Pepsi.
So they thought they had a winner.
They did. They were so excited. But here's where things get interesting. Even in these early tests,
Okay.
about 10 to 12% of the people who tasted it absolutely hated it.
Wow, they must have really hated it.
They were furious. It was a small group, but really vocal.
So maybe a sign of things to come.
Maybe a little foreshadowing there.
Yeah, they had this data and they decided to ignore it.
I mean, they had some concerns, but remember, at this point, Coke was in a really vulnerable position.
Right.
They felt like they had to do something drastic to get their market share back.
Yeah, so they went all in on taste.
They did. They thought if they could just win on taste, everything else would just fall into place.
But they underestimated how much people loved the original.
They really did. It wasn't just a drink. You know, it was part of their lives, their memories, their sense of identity.
Yeah, you don't mess with people's comfort food.
Especially not when it's an American icon.
Yeah. So then what happened? They put this new Coke out there,
Yeah.
and everybody hated it.
Well, they released it on April 23, 1985.
Right.
Replaced the original formula completely, and the backlash was almost immediate.
I can imagine.
Especially in the South, where Coke, you know, really held a special place in people's hearts.
Yeah. What happened? Did people stop buying it?
Initially, there was a sales bump. You know, people were curious. They wanted to try this new, supposedly better-tasting Coke.
Okay.
But that didn't last very long.
I bet.
The people who hated it, they became really, really vocal.
Uh-oh.
And then the media picked up on it, and it was a PR nightmare. People were really upset. And it wasn't just about the taste either.
Right.
For a lot of people, it felt like a betrayal.
Yeah.
Like Coca-Cola, this, you know, the symbol of America had just abandoned them. You know, like they caved to the pressure of trends and taste tests. And the South in particular, where Coke was like practically a cultural institution.
Oh, for sure.
They took it personally.
Yeah.
It was almost like a violation of their heritage.
Wow. So what did Coke do? Did they try to, like, ride out the storm?
Well, at first they tried to act confident, you know?
Yeah.
Like they were saying new Coke was the future. But behind the scenes, they were panicking.
I bet.
They were getting thousands of complaints, calls, letters. Some people even wrote directly to the CEO.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine what it would be like today with social media?
Oh, my gosh. It would be a total meltdown.
It would be crazy. And it wasn't just the customers, the bottlers, the ones who actually distribute Coke.
Right.
They were furious, too.
Yeah, I bet they were.
They felt like Coke had misled them.
Yeah.
And left them to deal with all the angry customers.
Right. They're on the front lines.
Exactly. And on top of that, a lot of them didn't like the new flavor either.
So they had unhappy customers and unhappy distributors.
Yeah, it was a mess. And to make matters worse, international bottlers started expressing doubts, too.
Oh.
So it was becoming clear that this wasn't just a regional issue.
But-
It was a global problem.
Oh, man. This is starting to sound like a train wreck in slow motion.
Yeah, it kind of was.
Did they ever admit defeat?
They did, and it happened way faster than you might think, just 79 days after launching New Coke.
79 days.
Yep, they announced that they were bringing back the original formula.
Wow.
They called it Coca-Cola Classic.
Coca-Cola Classic. That's what it's called today.
It was a huge admission of defeat.
79 days. That's like nothing in the corporate world.
It's a blink of an eye. It shows you that even giants like Coca-Cola, they can't ignore the power of the people.
Gotta listen to their customers.
They do. It's a really good lesson in how fast things can change when you misjudge your audience.
For sure.
They thought they were being innovative, listening to what people wanted.
Right.
But they totally missed how much people loved the original Coke.
Yeah.
Like that emotional connection they had.
So in the end, taste wasn't the only thing that mattered.
Nope. It was about nostalgia, tradition, that feeling of connection
Right.
you get when you share something familiar, something you love.
So they tried to win on taste, and they lost everything that made Coke special.
Pretty much.
It's kind of ironic, isn't it? You know how they tried to reinvent themselves, but ended up making the original even more popular?
Yeah, it's like they accidentally made classic cool again.
Exactly. So did this whole new Coke disaster actually help Coca-Cola?
You could definitely argue that it did.
Really? How so?
Well, by bringing back Coca-Cola Classic, they tapped into all that nostalgia and brand loyalty.
Right. People were so happy to have their old Coke back.
Exactly. It was like a collective sigh of relief, and their love for the brand was rekindled.
So it backfired on Pepsi in a way.
Totally. Pepsi tried to spin it to their advantage.
How did they do that?
They ran ads saying they were the drink for a new generation.
The ones who weren't afraid of change, huh?
Yeah, while Coke became the safe choice for traditionalists.
I see. So it was like a battle of the generations.
Kind of, and in the end, Coke came out on top. Coca-Cola Classic was a huge hit.
Bigger than the original.
Even bigger. It's pretty amazing.
So what happened to New Coke? Did they just give up on it?
They tried to keep it going. They renamed it Coke 2.
Coke 2. Never heard of it.
Yeah, it never really caught on. It was around until 2002.
Wow, I had no idea.
But it was always in the shadow of Coca-Cola Classic.
Right, it just couldn't compete.
Nope. The whole new Coke saga really shows the power of brand loyalty and those emotional connections.
It's not just about the taste.
It's about memories, experiences, that feeling of familiarity.
So even if people say they want something new, they might not actually mean it.
Exactly. You can't underestimate the power of tradition.
And Coke learned that the hard way.
They did, but they managed to bounce back.
Yeah, they really did. It's like they tripped, fell flat on their face.
And somehow landed right back on their feet.
Pretty impressive. Well, that wraps up our trip back to 1985.
What a wild ride.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Pop Slashback.
We had fun.
Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss our next episode.
And remember, sometimes the classics are classic for a reason.
We'll catch you next time.